Hey boss, why do you think we still call them beakies when they ain't got beaks no more? Easy, 'cause we can't say primers, whatever they call them things. What? Welcome back to the Red Ones Go Faster. I'm old Big Mek, and in this video we are breaking down the new battle force for the Space Marine beakies, the Spearhead Force. So, for those of you new to the channel, welcome. I am indeed Old Big Mek. This is The Red Ones Go Faster. And yeah, I am doing a video on every single one of the holiday battle forces called a deep dive, where we go beyond the surface and we look at 5 different categories and give a Big Mek rating between 1 and 5 Dakkas on them, on how good this box actually is, on value for money, value for points, value for options, its strength on the battlefield, and its synergy with the combat patrol. We also look at what units you need to buy to take this to the next level and get at least 1,000 points on the board. And in this video in particular, we're really going to get into army building, because we're also going to talk about this box for all of the divergent chapters. So grab yourself a Red Squig energy drink, strap yourself in, and hold on, and let's get into it. First, a bit of background. I have been in the Warhammer hobby since the mid-90s. I have played Space Marines almost that entire time, besides my actual break from the hobby as a whole. I've always had a Space Marine army. They're near and dear to my heart. I love them. I really love the new Primaris. I have 5,000-ish points of Primaris as one of my armies, as well as a Black Templar army on top of that. So very much pro Space Marine here on this very orc-centric channel. So definitely keep that in mind when I start talking about this box, because I gotta break it to you, it's not my favorite box. But again, we're gonna deep dive into all of that. So first, the basics. Spearhead Force, $230 retail. They went on sale today with all of the other battle forces. Contains the new Captain with Jump Pack, 15 of the Jump Intercessors, 3 Outriders, and an Invader ATV. And in case you've been living underneath a rock, that's what they look like. Now, all that being said, I think this box is probably going to have the longest legs, meaning it's the one that's going to be on sale the longest, because Games Workshop tends to make more of the Space Marine boxes than any of the others. And also, I don't think this box is very popular. Right now, as of recording time, again, this is on release day, you can find this box everywhere at a deep discount. I've seen 25 to 30% off, no problem. Yeah, so $172.50 for this box is a much better deal than the $230, and that's going to change some of these values, right? So definitely keep that in mind as well. So let's get into our deep dive and our categories. First, with value for money. Again, at the $230 price tag, it's a 2 out of 5 Dakkas for me. I don't think it's enough really to warrant this box unless it's really something that you are looking for. However, at $172.50, you know, it might be better for you, and you know, it's going to kind of come down to what kind of discount you can get out of it. Next category is points, value for the points. This is a 1 out of 5 Dakka, guys. I'm sorry. It's 505 points. It's the least amount of points of any of the boxes, and it's just not as much value there. And there's not really anything you could do about it, because there's no options on any of these. You can't really convert them into anything else, right? There's not elite jump pack guys yet or anything like that. There's no upgrade frames. Like, it just is what it is. So yeah, low point count on this one now. And that leads us into the next category, which is options. So this is your value for options. Now, some of the other battle forces actually have a lot of options built in. The orc one in particular, you can build the kill rig as either the kill rig or the I believe it's called the hunter rig, and you can have the wereboy be separate, and that's, you know, 2 different points values and 2 different units you can get out of it. And then also with Mazrog Scragbad, who is a named character, you can build him as the regular beast boss on Squigosaur. So you have a lot of options built into that battle force itself. So, you know, on your holiday morning, you rip that thing open, you've got some decisions to make and some options on what you're doing. Not the case here with the Space Marines. I mean, the Outriders are the easy build kits that we've had forever. They're not new multi-part kits at all, so they're they're going to look exactly the same as all your other ones. The Invader ATV, I think your only option is the little gun on the back, and then we've seen this ruse for the jump pack guys, but really there's not a whole lot of variation there. Pretty bog standard Marine stuff. So the options, the value for options there is a 1 out of 5 Dakkas as well. So again, this box isn't looking too great on the score until you get to the next category, and that is strength, value for strength. And in this category, we're specifically looking at how does this box perform on the battlefield? How good are these units in play, right? You could have a fantastic value box that's got, 60 Gretchen in it. How good are they going to be on the battlefield, right? They're all going to get shot off. They're not worth any points. They're not very good, right? You want to take a small squad of them in the backfield to hold down an objective and farm a CP. You don't want to make an army of them. This box is not that. We've got 4 out of 5 Dakkas here because this box is strong. Now, Space Marines overall always kind of get a little weird on the win-loss ratios by GW and the Meta Watch and all that, because they do separate out all of the divergent chapters into their own thing, and sometimes you get results in where somebody's made a homemade chapter, they've done a successor chapter, something like that, and they end up kind of in weird categories. And also you have to remember, Space Marines being the most common and the most popular army also have the most rookies, and rookies don't play as well as old graybeards, right? So take that with a grain of salt. But on the battlefield, especially right now in 10th edition, it's very much a shooting meta, but it's also very much a meta on holding down objectives, getting to objectives on your opponent's side, in the no man's land, stuff like that. So having speed is important. Having ability to deep strike or flank in or reserves, it's all hugely important. And this whole box can do that. It is all very fast stuff. This box is very strong on the battlefield, which makes up for a lot of not having the points and not having the options and not having the value. So again, if this box works with your Space Marine force, it might be a really good pickup for you, because on the table, this box slaps. So 4 out of 5 Dakkas in strength. And that leads us to our final subcategory, and that is synergy with the combat patrol. And this has been the most popular thing to talk about on all of our videos so far with these deep dives, because most players, whether you're brand new to Warhammer 40k or you've been playing forever, we have a combat patrol, right? It's one of the new fun ways to play Warhammer 40k. They're the best way value to get a box set going for your force, and they're really exciting, right? And so so that leads us to the actual Space Marine combat patrol. Now there is the new one, right? And it's based on the units that are in Leviathan. You get the Terminators and the Flamethrower guys, the Infernus Marines. There's no synergy there. That is a 1 out of 5 Dakkas for that particular combat patrol. But honestly, that particular combat patrol is probably the weakest and weirdest one out there. And the plain Space Marine one has never been good, let's be honest. The old one was the old Shadow Spear half, missing all the characters. So it was all of your, Phobos armored guys and sneaky guys and stuff like that. And that just didn't really work well with anything, because they kind of let all that stuff die on the vine until the brand new, Reaver Lieutenant with the in the Leviathan box, So it's just neither one of those boxes really synergize very well. It probably synergizes better with the old one than the new one, because at least the old one, right, you had sneaky guys and behind the lines guys and can kind of work with these. The new box, but again, that's more on the new box than the Battleforce. So what I wanted to do was look at all of the other ones too. But before we get there, the new combat patrol with this box put together, you're at 1,030 points, right? It's a pretty easy way to get to 1,000 points on an army, and frankly, it's cheap. But honestly, I don't know why you would buy the combat patrol this day and age when, here it is, November of 2023, and you can still buy Leviathan. It is everywhere. All 3 of my local game stores still have them on the shelf. They're all over the place online. I'll put a link in the description below. You can get them for 15 to 20% off retail, no problem. And the whole of Leviathan definitely has more synergy with itself and also with this box. So if you were to do that, you'd be looking at 1,395 points out of the box in between the 2 boxes, and that's really good, right? And then you can go pick whatever your favorite 100-point unit is, and you'd have a 1,500-point army fairly quickly, fairly easily, fairly cheaply. That would be pretty darn good on the tabletop. So that would be my recommendation, is if you don't already have the Combat Patrol, skip it and just buy Leviathan, because the Combat Patrol is, again, inside Leviathan, and also it's just a way better value for money, and it's going to synergize better with this Battle Force. But moving on to our divergent chapters and how the score will change. First, the overall score for generic Space Marines, it's a 2 out of 5 Dakkas, right? If you're just collecting Space Marines and you've got a smorgasbord and you're, whatever your homebrew chapter is, or, official GW chapter that's not divergent, you're probably not going to like the box very much. And unless you're already focusing on a lot of this fast attack stuff, it's going to feel kind of, disjointed to you and things like that. Probably not recommended. But those recommendations change depending on what your chapter is. So first, Black Templar. If you are a Templar player, and again, I am one, I've played them all the way since 3rd edition when they officially launched with Codex Armageddon. This is a great option for Black Templar. Black Templar love getting in your face. They love assaulting things. They love the close combat phase, and 15 jump Marines and a jump captain in Black Templar colors would be fantastic. So if you're a Black Templar player, definitely get it. Even the Black Templar Combat Patrol kind of synergizes with this well, right? Because it comes with a transport vehicle that moves fast to put the squad in it and it's, kind of close combat-y focused the way this one is as well. So they're actually going to kind of work well together. I could totally see the Outriders and the Invader ATV flanking with that transport that comes in the Combat Patrol and having a lot of fun there. In fact, I would say in between Leviathan, this box, and the Black Templar Combat Patrol, and then again the old Black Templar Army set, which is also still available really, really cheap, link in the description below, you can make a really cool Black Templar force for not very much cash. So that would probably be like my number one way to use this. Next is going to be Dark Angels. Dark Angels are in a weird spot. We know that they are the 3rd codex up, right? The next 2 codexes are Adeptus Mechanicus and Necrons this fall. Next year, the very first codex is Dark Angels. So everything about them is going to change, which means right now they're in a really weird time. The last thing they got was the new Lion, which is awesome. I love that model. But rules-wise, they're still on index. Their old codex was 1,000,000 years ago. All of their old releases are 1,000,000 years ago. And frankly, they're in a weird spot because they were the poster boys for 2 whole editions of the starter set. You had Dark Angel specific Space Marines, but now all of those are Firstborn, and all of those are frankly going away. Like, nobody really wants to use those. They're super cheap out on the secondary market. They don't synergize with any of the Primaris stuff. So existing Dark Angels players are in a little bit of a weird spot. But if you're looking to get into Dark Angels, right, say you just started playing, maybe you got some Primaris guys, you picked up the Lion, and you're going, oh yeah, Dark Angels would be cool. Leviathan was cool, right? Because you've got some Terminators that you can use as Deathwing. This could be cool because you got some bikes that we assume will be Ravenwing, but there's no upgrade sprues on anything. We don't know how Ravenwing is going to change your basic bikes. We don't know how Deathwing is going to change your basic Terminators. So it's a toss-up. I would say if you are looking at doing a Dark Angels army, don't build it yet. Buy stuff, totally fine, but I wouldn't actually assemble anything. I would wait because you're just a couple of months away from being able to know exactly what those changes are and be able to build it to work. So maybe get it if you're going to focus on the Ravenwing side of it, but I wouldn't assemble it yet. Just leave it in the closet. Moving on to Space Wolves. Space Wolves is, again, in a really weird spot. Space Wolves is the most divergent chapter when it comes to kits, right? You've got Wolfen and Blood Claws and all sorts of really crazy stuff that regular Space Marines don't get. And there's a lot of stuff that regular Space Marines use that Space Wolves don't, right? There's not Librarians, there's Rune Priests and stuff like that, right? It's just kind of a weird army within the Space Marine culture. They are really kind of their whole own thing out there on the peripheral. I don't know how well this one's going to go with them. Now, traditionally, Assault Marines, Jump Marines, Marines on bikes have always done well with Space Wolves, but because they're in that weird spot, because we don't know if they're even going to have access to all of these on their data sheets, with the whole new how armies work, I would shy away. I would maybe, again, if you're a Space Wolf player, not necessarily go for this particular box. Next is Blood Angels. Now, Blood Angels obviously go great with jump packs, right? Regular Blood Angels with jump packs, but especially your Death Company, right? Death Company with jump packs are amazing. We know they're going to come. Your new Dante's already out with the jump pack. Looks amazing. These guys are really going to rock with Blood Angels. They're even pretty okay with the Blood Angels Combat Patrol. Again, you've got that, transport in there on that one, and a little bit more focus on some jumping around. I think that one's got the aggressors in it. So Blood Angel Army, I think you're good to go. I would say, and this is probably the one army where it's a really good thing that you get 15 of these guys. I would maybe build 5 guys now and build them as regular Blood Angels, and I would just hold off on the other 10. And when Blood Angel stuff starts coming out, we start knowing more about it and knowing what Deathwing is going to do, or not Deathwing, Death Company. You know what Death Company is going to do. There might be like an upgrade kit or, a sprue or something like that, put the little crosses on their jump packs and things like that, maybe slightly different weapons. That could be really, really cool. And then you'd already have your jump pack guys ready to go for it so that you could make your Death Company super awesome. So again, Blood Angels players, I think you should totally pick this up. Now, that's all your major, divergent chapters. There's also, Salamanders. Salamanders don't tend to do a whole lot of jumping up close and things like that. It's just not very Salamander-y, but they're also not bad. I could totally see this in a Salamander army, but I don't, that's up to you. That's if you play your Salamanders or you've got lots of close combat stuff, go for it. But if you're a pretty traditional Salamanders player, again, I'd probably skip this one. White Scars. Now, White Scars is where it's at. They're all about the bikes. They're all about the jump pack guys. They've been forgotten for a long time. And then, of course, the ones that come with them do Stormlord, Storm Giants, things like that. But your White Scar players, you guys are probably all over this already. Fantastic. Paint them white and red. This is a White Scar army through and through. It's also a Raven Guard army through and through, right? Raven Guard love their jump packs. Corax as his. They're all about the stealthy and the sneaky and the jumpy and the stabby, right? They're great for it. So if you're a Raven Guard player, totally pick this up. There are a couple of those fringe cases, right? Your Iron Hands and your Emperors and stuff like that. That's going to come down to you. Is your army focused on this kind of thing? Go for it. Is your army all sit back and shoot? Maybe not. Unless you want to have the whole, the old hammer and anvil trick, right? Where you've got a big chunk that kind of stays put and shoots everything, and then you send these guys in around the back and squeeze the enemy in between, they're gonna go for it. I think it's really gonna come down to each individual Space Marine player, what chapter you play, how you play that chapter, and how much of a money off of retail you can get this one for. Honestly, don't pay full retail for this box. There's no reason to pay $230 for this box US. $175 all day long is, I think, the max you should pay. I think you're going to see it for even more off than that. Again, look down in my description for the links for Leviathan and the Black Templars box that are way cheaper than their retail were. This box is going to be like that too. So anyways, that's been old Big Mek's deep dive into the Space Marine Spearhead Force. If you like what you saw, I'd appreciate it. A dislike if you didn't like what you saw is totally cool as well. Please feel free to subscribe if you like my content and want to see more of my gray beard moving forward. There's also ways to support the channel on Patreon, as well as Teespring. We've got a design there as well. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you all for sticking with me, and until next time, Wagon!